Alright, I want to talk about the riot that happened at Berkeley today, April 15th, 2017. I'm going to film this over 2 days because I have a few things I want to talk about, and it's pretty late right now. It's after midnight. The reason I'm making this video is because I think there should be as much first-hand information available as possible for people to access, because you really can't trust the, I hate saying mainstream media because it's so buzzword, but you can't trust the media. Sometimes they get it right, but sometimes they edit like ridiculously. I got interviewed by quite a few people today, and I felt like I said the things I wanted to say, but who knows how they're going to construe that. So I think first-hand information is very important. Let's get to this first, just get it out of the way. I went to Berkeley today specifically to defend people who were going to be attacked simply for exercising their right to free speech and peaceful assembly. There are groups like ANTIFA who have been hitting peaceful, unsuspecting people for the sole reason that they disagree with their opinions or political ideologies. These types of attacks are becoming more and more common and more predictable. They don't even try and hide that this is their MO.
Fascism has become normalized. So what we do is we go to their rallies and we shut them down.
I don't understand, though, this need for you people to use violence to shut down a conversation. If it's so offensive, couldn't you just refute it?
See, we can't even allow fascists to have a platform because they spread and incite hatred with their voice, and we can't have that. Now, see, a few broken windows is a small price to pay when we are saving thousands of lives by preventing a future Holocaust.
So that's the impetus here, is you're trying to prevent another Hitler from doing another Holocaust.
Exactly.
Is that Trump's plan?
It appears to be, yes.
Okay, and he wants to kill not just Jews, but trans people, disabled people, Mexicans. He wants to kill them all.
Of course, yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's always been the case.
They make no logical sense. But they believe it's their job to shut down opinions and ideologies that they disagree with. And their only method is violence, vandalism, assault. So as we, defenders of free speech, and just freedom in general in America, are becoming more and more aware of these people and their predictability of just showing up at events of anybody's opinions that they disagree with and doing this kind of behavior, we are assembling to try and simply defend against that. Obviously, innocent people expressing their ideas in America should be free to do that. Unfortunately, the police have not been willing to try and stop this kind of behavior by arresting people. So, like I said, this has become more and more predictable, so we simply want to defend ourselves. You should not be free, and you should not feel free to simply attack, hit, punch, pepper spray somebody because you disagree with them. You shouldn't be made to feel like you're totally free and it's okay to do that, and you can just get away with it. And that is the only thing that we are trying to accomplish. We are not trying to escalate any kind of violence. That was the message that we'd been putting out and saying and hearing leading up to this event. We're not going to back down from violence, but we're not going to start it. We have the right to defend ourselves. And that's why I went. I went simply to defend innocent people who are going to be attacked. So now that I've given you that little bit of background, here's what happened. When I first got there, I saw a couple people coming back to our side where people were speaking, and they were like covered in blood, and some people were on the ground getting medical attention, that kind of thing. So I was like, alright, it's happening. So for a minute I went to go listen to the speeches, and then I remembered, okay, that's not why I'm here. I wish that's why I was here. I wish we could just have speeches and not be afraid of getting maced, tear gassed, punched, that kind of a thing. I wish that we could be there and simply know that people are going to argue with us and be angry with us, because that's fine. But that's not the world we live in. That's not the situation that was happening. So I basically just went to where the two sides were arguing. I'm going to go through and find all the footage I can that exists of my personal experience. So on the Antifa side, on this side, they had lines, and it was like somebody from the second line kind of reached over with a long stick and just hit one of the free speech rally goers right on the head. And I said, okay, that's it, that's not okay. And I went right for that person. And as soon as that person hit, they immediately turned around and run, which is what they always do. That's just extremely cowardly. They always just hit and then run, or they only fight when it's like 10 to 1.
I'm gonna hurt you! Because you have a mask on! Oh! Motherfucker! Oh shit, he's bleeding! Yo! Hey, man! He's bleeding!
Get the fuck out of here!
Help this guy! Help this guy!
So as soon as this person throws that hit against someone who was not doing anything violent and then starts bolting, I bolt after that person just to hit them one time because, like I said, we're just trying to say, no, you can't get away with that. That is not okay. So I had to pursue this person about 20 or 30 feet deep. Then, obviously, I was surrounded by ANTIFA, and then they started to close in on me. Someone else hit me with a stick. And then after that, that's when things got really chaotic, and I don't fully remember details, so I'll explain it as best I can remember. So somehow I got the stick from this person. I also hit this person who hit me with the stick. I must have gotten pepper sprayed at some point. I didn't actually feel getting pepper sprayed when it actually happened. It was only after everything was over here that I was like, oh, I can't see it, I got pepper sprayed. I was getting hit from multiple sides. I don't remember getting this. I don't know if this is the stick that eventually that hit me that I said that I punched them back and got it back. I don't think it was, but maybe it was. I just knew I was getting hit. I wasn't really feeling anything. You know, I guess that's the adrenaline that they talk about. So then after being held down, well, not held down because I was still standing, but after being held and punched and kicked and etc. from multiple people, I thought about throwing them on the ground, but then I realized, no, that would also put me on the ground, and that would get me, like I said, vulnerable again. So I kind of stayed under in the headlock. So then I started punching this person in the gut a couple times, and then I got away for a second, and then I got blindsided again, I think, from my left side, and someone put me in a chokehold. And initially, I don't know why, but when this person had me in a chokehold, I just got this sensation. I'm like, I think this is a girl. Just because I saw their arm and I guess their stature, if that makes sense. And I thought, I think this is a girl. And my initial instinct was, okay, don't fight back. That lasted for about half a second, and then I just thought, okay, no, if it is a girl, you're in a chokehold, and even if you shouldn't necessarily fight her because she's holding you, you're vulnerable and to the other people that could be coming at you with sticks, knives, anything.
I saw two different people from the Antifa side with knives.
I don't know if it was a girl, but I'm just saying that's what happened. So then they have me on the ground, and then I reach over and try and grab their trachea. I didn't actually squeeze because I was hoping that, okay, if I just put my fingers on their trachea, then that will make them realize, okay, yeah, I have this person in a headlock, but I'm also in trouble too, and then maybe there would be a truce and they'd let me go. I don't know if that was effective, because at that point, the person, people from our side, the free speech rally side, somehow were in the scuffle and came in after me. Maybe they picked the person off, I don't know, maybe Antifa ran, I don't know. But then all of a sudden I was being helped back to kind of our area, and was given a lot of first aid. Which, by the way, they gave me milk to put in my eyes to stop the burning from the pepper spray, and that actually worked really well. When I went to the ER, the nurses and staff didn't even know that, so I told them, so that's a good little trick. So they brought me back kind of to our area. They gave me just a wrap for my head. I guess they called 911 because they saw that it was really, really bad.
Stop the bleeding first! Stop the bleeding!
Oh shit, he's got a fucked up cat!
Pressure! Cause some pressure! There you go. Cause some pressure!
If there's any mace, I have milk.
Hey, leave that cause impression.
No, I know. I got more if we need.
You know what day it is?
But it didn't hurt, which is the kind of weird thing. And that's just not the adrenaline. Like the whole time, I was like, no, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Dude, it burns more than anything.
That's what we need.
Everything's fine.
We're good on gas. We're good on gas.
It burns like shit.
And even now, like 10, 15 hours later or whatever, nothing is really in pain. The only thing that actually really hurts is my shoulder, because when I went in today, before I even showed up to the event, I kind of threw my shoulder out already. And so now it just got a little aggravated from who knows what, but like none of the places where I actually got hit really hurts. So once I recovered from the pepper spray, they had me kind of stand off to the side and wait for the ambulance to come. And while I was standing there, a couple reporters came up and asked me for interviews. One was a camera, one was LA Times. She was just writing down, taking notes. She had a pocket recorder. So I talked to them. I gave them the most in-depth, accurate, honest answers that I could give them. Then I got kind of escorted over to a police medic. They looked at me and they said, oh yeah, you definitely need stitches, you definitely need stitches. And then I got taken to the ER and got stitches. So those are the details and the story of that one incident that I was involved in. Now I want to talk a little bit about other details at the rally that I saw, because once again I think it's important to have as many first-hand accounts of what happened, because I've just done a little bit of research already and I'm seeing the media just under-reporting with very inaccurate and imprecise facts of what happened. A lot of journalists are writing, people were throwing M80s. M80s were being thrown. Not one of the people who was there in support of free speech had M80s. None of us even had M80s, let alone threw M80s. They were constantly being thrown over to our side. I heard a story that one actually exploded right near someone's head, and the guy who saw it that I talked to afterwards, after I got back from the ER because I ran back, but one of the guys who told me the story said that he's guessing that guy will probably never hear out of that ear again. So they were, ANTIFA side, were the only ones throwing M80s. But CNN and who else? ABC is what I remember. All these places are not mentioning that. They're just saying M80s were thrown. People were throwing M80s. No, that makes it sound like they're going back and forth. That lets people think, oh, okay, so these are just violent people from both sides trying to create trouble. No, that's not what's happening.
The Antifas threw around 25 M80s into the crowd. The people from the rally weren't throwing firecrackers.
Another fact about the riot is that the free speech advocates had no weapons of any kind, because we actually got a memo from the Berkeley Police Department, who we tried to cooperate with and communicate with ahead of the event to try and keep violence from occurring. We got a memo from them. They gave us a list of items that would be confiscated at the event. Any form of stick, pepper spray, I'll put the full list. All those things were going to be confiscated, so we didn't even bring them into the event. But then once we get there, we see that Antifa has flagpoles that are like 10 feet long. They have sticks, they have pepper spray, they have M80s, and we have nothing. The only thing that some of us had was like protective armor type gear and things like that. So that tells you a few things. That tells you a little bit about who we are and what our standards are and what our morals are and things like that. It gives you insight into Antifa and their methods and their morals and approaches to things. And it also shows you the inadequate job that the Berkeley police did at the event, which I'll get into a little more later, because I'm very disappointed with the presence that the Berkeley police had, the job that they did, which is also something that the media is not truthfully representing. They're saying things like, the Berkeley police did this, the Berkeley police were there, they did all these arrests, and they intervened in this way, and they intervened in that way. But the truth is that they were just on the perimeter the whole time. They were not in the mix. And this is important, because I got there a little late. I got there around 12:40. As I was walking around just to try and find who was where type of thing, I kept seeing individuals walking back towards what I eventually found was our kind of spot where the speeches were happening and everything, individuals coming with totally bloodied faces. I saw somebody on the ground getting medical attention, and I saw about 3 or 4 in a time of about 10 minutes of individuals like walking back from where I guess skirmishes were happening. And so when you see that, that just tells me as an individual person, okay, things are happening, people are getting hit, violence is happening, and it's obviously happening over there. If you're a police officer and you see violence happening, that's when you're supposed to step in. If people are yelling and, I mean, I guess even smoke bombs aren't the worst thing in the world if you want to stay back and say, all right, fine, do that. And if they're throwing bagels and things like that, and you want to say, all right, we're going to let them sort this out. But once you see individuals continuously walking back, getting bloodied, that's when your job is to step in and find out why. Who's attacking who first, and maybe it's both sides, maybe it's one side, it doesn't matter, but it's your job to find out and stop it. That's your job as a police officer. Now, I have no personal training or anything like that, and I could figure out just right away, okay, things are happening over there, that's where I need to be, and I have no training whatsoever. And these are police officers who are supposed to have all kinds of training. They have psychological training and riot training, and they're armed to the teeth when we have literally no weapons except armor, and they're just sitting back. And that's just disgusting. You would also think that once people started throwing M80s, that's when they would also step in and say, no, this is where things have gotten out of control and this is where we need to step in. If in your memo you put out a list of things that people weren't allowed to bring in, at the bottom it says anything that could be used as riot gear, and then you see M80s being thrown, you're not following your own policies. And if you're not going to follow your own policies and follow through with what you said, why are you there? So that's another detail about the riot, that I'm very disappointed in the lack of police activity, the lack of police integrity. I'm going to be calling them. I left messages with one of the area officers of where the Civic Center Park was located, and with Sergeant Frankel. Just expressing my concerns, but I wasn't able to get a call back. This time I'm going to call, and I'm actually going to talk to them and just let them know that this is disgraceful. It's not acceptable. We need police support. We don't want anarchy. We don't want violence. We want things to calm down so we can talk. We want freedom and peace in America. Why is that so hard? That's your job. And a lot of the media news sites, I think actually off the top of my head, all of the ones that I've seen, are giving this impression that the police were heavily involved, they were in the mix, you know, they were on standby, waiting, watching, and ready in case anything bad happened to step in and do their job and arrest people who were initiating violence and starting violence. And that's just not the case at all.
Look at the cops in their cars! They're so safe! They're so safe!
Thanks for protecting and serving. You guys did a great job today.
Hey, you guys been hanging back today, huh?
What's that?
You guys been hanging back today.
Doing our job.
What's your job? I mean, there's been people brawling all day long. I haven't seen you around. What's your job in this situation? Just letting it go?
I'm not at liberty to discuss my time.
This is insane. The police are literally just standing around, not doing anything. Look at them. There's a number of riot cops here. There's clashes and fights and people getting seriously hurt and injured, but these guys are just standing there.
Hey, how come you guys are hanging back?
That would be a good question for the chief of police.
I mean, I haven't seen the cops around people and just like beating the shit out of each other.
A public statement, right?
No, I'm just asking you guys. I mean, you're here.
I would defer you to our public information officer.
So they told you to hang back?
As I said, I defer you to our public information officer. What's your next question?
I mean, I'm just wondering why I've been watching all day. People get beat up pretty bad. I haven't seen you guys around much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
Like, it's one thing to say, because Antifa was actually outside of the perimeter of the park, they were more in the street. It's one thing if you're a cop to say, okay, we said we're going to check these items and prevent them from coming into the park. And then if people are outside that area, for you to say, okay, we can't check every single person that's walking in the city of Berkeley for these kind of weapons. But once it starts happening and they start pulling out these weapons, you don't have to look. You don't have to guess or think. It's like, oh, look, they have weapons. Now we should go check it out and take those away, because those are not allowed and they're being used for offense, not for self-defense. I don't know. Maybe we should have just given the cops a Pepsi or something. That's what we did wrong. Now, a lot of people are asking what the purpose of the rally was. The purpose of the rally was it was twofold, really. We wish it could have just had one purpose, but unfortunately, for the reason that we needed to have it in the first place, it needed to be twofold. The first reason was to discuss the importance of freedom of speech, protecting freedom of speech, freedom of thought in America. Why does there need to be a rally talking about the importance of defending free speech? We have free speech. We live in America. Like, yeah, it's a good cause, something we're talking about. The truth is, free speech is in jeopardy in America. Not so much from the government, like we all thought would be the eventual culprit, which is why we wrote the Constitution, why we created the America in the first place. And when there's a growing number of people who believe it's okay to punch, hit, attack someone for having a different view than yours, freedom of speech is in trouble. And what you have to understand here is that there are lots of people who believe that won't actually punch you, but they believe that you deserve to be punched. When I ran back to the park after I got discharged from the ER to see if anyone was still there, if anything was going on, I found a couple of the people who were there for free speech and defending free speech. We got to talking a little bit, but then some other people came over who were essentially just anti-free speech. And they came over and we started first talking, but we eventually started arguing. And eventually what comes out, and this is what you have to see, is that there are lots of people like this. One of the girls asked me, are you a Trump supporter? Because she saw, I got hit in the head. She said, are you a Trump supporter? I said, I didn't vote for him, but I kind of support him and the things he's doing. Before I could finish saying that, she goes, well, maybe you deserve to get punched then. She then said to one of this other guy, you deserve to get punched for wearing that shirt, or for wearing a shirt that says XYZ. So she won't actually punch us, but she believes that it is right for other people to punch us. Oh, you're a Trump supporter? You deserve to be punched. Oh, you're kind of a Trump supporter? You're moderate, but you're not totally on our side? You deserve to get punched. Oh, you're wearing a shirt I disagree with? You deserve to get punched. Yeah, not everyone who believes that will actually go punching, so you're not going to see mass violence in the street, but that doesn't mean that these people don't hold these opinions and that they are out there and they are growing because of the extremism on the political spectrum that's happening. It's extremely polarized now. There's no moderation. There's no forgiveness. It's, we're way over here, and if you're not way over here, you're not one of us. Liberals hate classical liberals nowadays. Oh, you're a classical liberal? Okay, you're a conservative. It just goes on with these labels and things. But the bottom line is it turns to hate. And being hateful, being that hateful against someone just for their beliefs, which aren't genocide, should be a red flag. I knew that Antifa was going to be out there hitting people for just standing there. But I don't hate Antifa. That's the thing. I totally disagree with Antifa. I want to stop them. I don't want to allow them to attack people. I dislike them, but I don't have a burning, furious hatred towards them where I just see, oh, you're an Antifa? I hate you. Because that's labeling and generalizing, leaving no room for an individual. Some people who are Antifa are the people who are like, okay, I'm not going to punch anyone, but I believe you should get punched. Then there's other people in Antifa who are going to say, I'm going to punch somebody. Then there are other people in Antifa who say, I'm actually willing to have a conversation. You have to recognize that individualism, and when you don't recognize that individualism and that uniqueness in whatever group that you hate, then that's when discussion shuts down, and that's when violence rises up. And not only does violence rise up, but when you take away discussion completely off the table, you take away freedom of thought, you take away freedom of ideas. One of the guys who was pro-free speech, he said something really, really smart. He said, how are we supposed to know what the bad ideas are if we can't say them? And then I agreed with him and expanded, and I said, also, how are we supposed to know what the good ideas are if we can't talk about them? If we can't talk about just ideas, at least talk about them, put them on the table for analysis. How are we supposed to figure out what's right and wrong? We can't live in our own little brains and our own little bubbles and just think that everything we think is right. We have to put them to the test for other people to analyze. We have to put them to the test of the physics of reality and see if they stand up on their own virtue. So you have this one group of people who are just going to hit you if you say or think something that they don't like. And then you have another group of people who support that. When that culture is stirring and rising, that's the way in which freedom of speech is in trouble in America, and it's happening. So that brings me to the second reason that we were there. We were there to protect each other and ourselves from these people who were going to attack us simply for believing in the right to free speech and free thought in America. We were there to talk about the importance of free speech and also to defend it. In America, a person needs to feel safe to have their own ideas, their own opinions, and to say them. That's the bottom line. If you don't believe in that, you don't believe in America. You are not an American. The last thing I want to talk about is our side. That's the first problem. There is no our side. We have no identity group. That's a little bit of a problem. The media especially likes to call us Trump supporters, and that really bothers me. And a lot of our people refer to us as Trump supporters, and I don't like that, because this has nothing to do with Trump. If Trump wasn't president, we would still have these beliefs and feelings. So we don't have these feelings based on whether or not Donald Trump is president, and the rally that we're at has nothing to do with Donald Trump. And the worst thing that can happen with calling us Trump supporters is it's polarizing. It puts us in a box. We don't want to be Trump supporters. We don't want to exclude people. We want to have unity with people that we disagree with. We want people who hate Trump to be like, oh man, I hate Trump. I hate that you like Trump, but, oh, you believe in freedom of speech? Guess what? That's something we can agree on. And we would love to have that, we would love to welcome that diversity. So I think we need to stop using that label, and we need to discourage the media from putting that label on us. Our lack of cohesive uniformity gives us a little bit of a weakness. Even at the rally, it was a lot of individuals coming together. Some people were like, okay, I'm a medic, I'm going to bring some medical stuff, and hopefully I'll run into some people who are also medics, and we can set up a station. There were people there specifically to fight and defend for freedom of speech and defend innocent people who were going to be attacked. It was just, oh, I guess we'll show up, we got these groups, and I guess we'll run into each other over there. But when you have one official title and one official group, then that's when you can start doing things like coordinate among different groups. There's going to be people who film, there's going to be people who are willing to fight and defend, there's going to be people who are going to speak, and then you could break that down and organize people within those groups and have game plans for those subgroups. A lot of people were there with cameras, but they didn't know what to film. Okay, you're going to be filming just the wide shot and just the general scene. Okay, you're going to walk around observing what's unfolding to then bring up your camera and that kind of a thing, get details. Then within those groups at the end, collaborate and combine their footage to get the best picture, because we need to be able to bring a precise picture and story of what actually happens at these events. We need to be able to show with footage that we don't have M80s. They have M80s. We need to be able to prove who initiates violence first. We need to be able to show this footage that tells the complete, accurate story to not only the general public, but also to authorities like police, judges, governors, anyone because we need to be able to work with those people. We already tried working with the police in this instance and it did not work out, but that doesn't mean that we should not try and do that in the future. I was very lucky because even though I went deep into the Antifa section, I was fighting off people for about 30 seconds, and then some of our guys came and pulled them off and brought me back to the medical center. I saw this one video where this guy got pulled over by Antifa and he was on the ground just getting beat and kicked by about 10 of them for about 45 seconds, and it kept going on, and you can hear this guy on the camera saying, dude, somebody help that guy, somebody help that guy, and no one was coming to get him. So we need to have a more organized sense of unity and break up basically into squads and say, okay, you're not just here by yourself. You guys aren't just together, you know, and wandering randomly, aimlessly. We need to be split up into groups and say we're going to watch each other's back. And if we're going to actually be able to fight and defend ourselves for our freedom of speech, then we need to be very organized and, more importantly, unified. The other thing that we need to do in order to defend free speech and defeat those who are against free speech, to be successful in this goal, we have to make sure that we are not on our side. We need to make sure that we are on the right side, that we are on the side of right. That means adhering to a strict code of morality and conduct. We must never be the instigators of violence, and this goes for individual situations. I was very upset and disappointed with a couple of pieces of footage I saw that it's not necessarily the whole story, but it appears that we struck first. I saw one guy look like while they were arguing, he just reached over and slapped the other guy. Another one is where they claim an innocent Trump supporter gets pulled in, but it looks like he throws a bottle at them first. So things like that, where you never know the backstory and all this and all that. But the point is, we have to be careful to not even become overzealous, being ready to pounce and being on that trigger in the name of self-defense. It's not self-defense if someone simply says they're going to punch you. This isn't North Korea. We can afford to wait and see if they hit us. When you're talking about a gun or a nuclear bomb, you can't afford to wait and see if they actually do it, because then it's too late. If we're united, if there's enough of us, and we're not outnumbered 2,000 to 1, we can afford to stand there and be willing to take the first hit, okay? And we need to be willing to take that risk, to make that sacrifice. The media is not on our side. Now, even though there's all kinds of these buzzwords going around like fake news and all that stuff, and everyone talks about MSM can't be trusted and is biased and all this stuff, the bottom line is that most people listen to the mainstream media. So whatever they put out, that's what most people believe. So what that means is, in order to gain footing, we have to, one, without a doubt, be the good guys, and two, we have to be able to prove it, which kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about having much more organization within our filming crews, our defenders, our medics, all that kind of stuff. I mean, just take what happened with the most viral video of that guy punching that girl. I did a lot of research and a lot of digging to see if she actually was an instigator of violence or if she was just there in presence, because the footage that we see is she's just standing there and he hits her.
Throwing all kinds of shit, glass bottles.
The mainstream media, liberal Hollywood and all that stuff, they're going to jump right on that narrative as soon as they see that it's even possible. They're not going to be skeptical, they're just going to run with it. So we have to be able to refute any untruths, even if it's not as mainstream and massively output as the mainstream media. We at least have to be able to have that evidence for our own assurance and for anyone else who's willing to listen. But ultimately, we just have to be very careful. I also think it's very important that we hold ourselves to a very high standard, that we are self-critical, self-aware of our mistakes, and that we recognize those mistakes and that we try and correct them. If anyone from our side who was there to defend free speech initiated violence against any of the people who were protesting against us who did not act out in violence, that is wrong. And we need to own up to those mistakes. We need to call each other and ourselves out when we make those mistakes. So moving forward, I would like to see us become a lot more unified, uniformed, and organized. Especially at events like this, which I know is difficult because these events aren't strung together. It's not a tour. You know, they just pop up. But we are all generally in communication with each other, and it would be nice if we didn't just have a Facebook event page where people post. If there was a lot more communication and organization ahead of time, that would greatly increase our efficiency, our safety, our effectiveness, our ability to get our message out there, our ability to combat the fake news mainstream media whenever they put out stories that are inaccurate, and ultimately have a stronger sense of identity instead of just being a collection of rogue individuals, small groups and things who kind of act independently but for the same cause. Alright, so I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about the riot that happened at Berkeley, my thoughts on freedom of speech and how it's really in danger from these people, these types of people who just want to use violence instead of words to shut down free speech, to shut down freedom in America. Which also makes me want to say to, if anyone even from ANTIFA is out there, if you want to talk, that's what I want, that's what we want. As much as we disagree, I'm willing, and most of us are willing to put down our arms and just listen and talk. So in the comment section, I'm willing to talk to anyone who wants to be reasonable and not just, you know, say stupid stuff. Real quick, I need to give a huge thank you to the guys who came back, went back into the Antifa section and grabbed me and pulled me back to our side to give me medical attention. If you see this video or you know who those people were, please let me know, and because I would love to thank them personally. That was really huge. So really, thank you to my brothers and sisters who helped me out right there. I was counting on you and you didn't let me down. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you liked this video. I hope you thought it was thought-provoking and interesting and worth your time. Thanks also to everyone who showed up, everyone who does their part, everyone who sacrifices just to try and keep America free and safe. Peace and freedom. Have a great day.